Welcome to the first ever Savage Factor podcast.
We've talked about doing this for quite a long time, and our biggest motivation about doing it is to try to give you guys a longer format conversation to what it is that we're trying to do here at Savage Factor. Nick and I both, we've been posting on Instagram, but we felt like a long format conversation between the two of us, or when we bring somebody else in to share their story, just allows for a longer, what would you say?
Deeper conversations, deeper thoughts. And not only that, allowing people that we've met over the last year or so, year and a half, and hearing their stories, and providing them a platform to come on and share the impact that they've had on others and some of the big things that they've done. So a little rusty getting to this point.
Yeah, been a little bit of a struggle. Anybody that wants to start a podcast, do some reading.
Yeah.
Do some reading. But I think if we back it up a little bit and we talk about what Savage Factor, how Savage Factor initiated, or where the initial idea came from.
Yeah, so oddly enough, we never set out with this vision. We do a lot of hiking in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, and I remember one day we were out Mount Chicora. It's a 4,000 footer, and
Yep.
When we hike, we're moving at a pretty good pace. It's almost like a speed hike. And when we pass an older lady on the way up, and she's like, you guys at a race?"
Yeah. And then on the way down, we were asked what we were running from.
Yeah.
So we like to set a pace that's pretty aggressive. And I guess that particular day, obviously, Nick and I are going back and forth talking about different things and, about people pushing themselves and people not being able to experience some of the things that we've been able to experience. And like part of that initial conversation happened because, what would you say, 14, 15 years ago, I was fairly heavy, out of shape.
You're a big boy.
I was a big boy. Look back now, and I was a real big boy.
I was looking at pictures the other night, and I remember thinking, whoa.
So I think that's what got the conversation started, because doing something like what we were doing that day, it would have been very taxing on me. It would have been, I just wasn't in shape to do something like that. So then changing the mindset to being able to do something like that and wanting more people, I think the initial conversation was, wouldn't it be great if more people could experience things like this and know what it's like to, especially a mountain, because the beauty of a mountain is it's hard all the way up, and then the reward is when you get to the top.
Sure.
It's like the epitome of what anybody looks for, like the journey, and then you soak in the reward when you get to look out over this vast land. Mm-hmm. And that's what got us talking about the fact that there's so many people out there that they'll never get to experience it. Like Chicora isn't that big of a mountain, but there's so many people that aren't in shape to even get up that high on a mountain like that.
Well, I remember that's how it started. We were like, why are more people not out doing this and pushing
themselves?
And one of us, I forget who, was pretty much like, well, there should be something out there promoting that. And I think, that night our brains started.
Oh yeah, I believe it was the ride home. And I think we had talked about, tossed around the word savage, a couple times. And then, Savage Factor just happened to pop in. And at the time, it was, so at the heart of it, it was a passion project. But we just didn't know how we should apply it. So we kicked it around for a bit. We went online, we hired a company to make a logo. And
we had shirts printed up.
Yeah, we had some shirts printed up.
We trademarked it.
Yep, went through the trademarking process, and still to that point, we didn't really know what we were going to do with it.
No, from day one, you were doing the hard thing, losing the weight back then and not even realizing it, and we were doing the hard thing, two guys that know nothing about this world.
Right.
Jumping in head first. Feet first, maybe.
Yeah.
Feet first.
Yeah, feet first.
Trying to figure this thing out, talking to attorneys, showing up in the rooms that we really didn't belong in.
Yep.
Having shirts made up, like Savage Factor did not look like this originally.
Yeah, we got some OG shirts.
I think we each got a couple that we keep around.
Yeah, that's where it started. And then, like anything, there's a lot of things in life you kind of stall out. You're not exactly sure how you want it to go. And one of the hard things for us was that we didn't break down that wall right then. It was, we're not sure what we're going to do with it. Unfortunately, we let our trademark slide. And what would you say? We let a year. So obviously the trademark was a 2-year thing.
We just missed it by a couple months.
So we let it expire. And then, so what would you say? It was probably a year's gap between when we were really heavy.
Year and a half.
So we had shirts made up. We were pretty heavy about what we wanted to do. And then couldn't find the direction that we wanted to go in. So then all of a sudden it kind of stalled out. And we talked about, do we re-up the trademark? And at the time we both didn't really know how we were going to apply it. I think we both still felt like it belonged and there was a need for it, but not exactly how we were going to apply it. And so we missed the trademark. We let it fall through. And then we happened to, I don't know, it was what would be a year ago, December.
Yeah, almost a year to the,
Yeah, December-ish. Started talking about, Nick and I have run against each other a bunch of times. And up until, last year, the biggest thing was a 10K. And, I always like to say that Nick's my white Kenyan. He's a very fast individual, and he's hard to catch.
And I'm not that fast, just faster than him. So.
And just faster than me. And I've never been, I wouldn't say I'm a speed guy. It's never been a project of mine. I've never really focused on it, but I like to think I've got really good endurance. So we started kicking around and watching videos of ultra marathons, which is kind of odd for two guys that have never done a marathon.
A 10K was it.
At the time, a 10K was as far as either one of us had gone.
And when we quickly went from we're going to sign up for a marathon to an ultra. We never ran a marathon.
Yes.
We went right to a 24-hour race that we signed up for at Pineland.
Well, and then we go from, and I would say that because we were over your house New Year's
Eve.
And, watching all these individuals do these ultra marathons, it was like I was bit by the bug. I was like, you're outside, and most of them are trail runs, which I love being out in the trails, love being out in the woods. And so I think, January 1st came around. The Pineland Farms 24-hour race had just opened up in January. We signed up. Not even knowing what we were getting into. And
that's a big part of what we're promoting. At the end of the day, it's can you show up in the rooms and the spaces that you feel like you don't belong, mainly because it's hard.
Right. So
we didn't belong at a 24-hour race, not even close.
So, and then kind of going back to how that kicks Savage Factor back off, we went through that December, January, and realized this is what we want to do. We're taking a risk. We're taking a chance. So we met up with a local company and sat down, explained to them what our philosophy was, that we want to build a brand, and we want that brand to be about people doing hard things and making themselves better and pushing themselves.
They're the big. They saw our vision.
Right.
They came up with the logo.
We walked in there,
perfect.
And I like to say that we walked in there with a bunch of puzzle pieces, and we kind of sat down with these guys and we threw it out on the table, and all of a sudden they put the pieces together and was like, "You guys have something great here," And for Nick and I, it was like, "Where do these pieces belong?" And so that was a local company that helped make our new logo. We made nice. Jumped in, had a video made, and from there, what did we do from there? We met with High Pine in Standish, Maine.
Yeah.
Had them make up some shirts. Told them, like you can see now, it's we wanted to go with simple yet meaningful, and from there, it was like we were a rocket ship. We had found what Savage Factor was supposed to be. We had really kind of found its purpose.
We've gone back and forth on that elevator pitch, let's lay that out right now.
Our biggest thing is about challenging people to show up for themselves every day and to consistently be better. Because what we've said is nothing bad comes from doing the hard thing. Almost all the time we're met with the hard thing, but you do it and you sit back and go, I wish I had done it sooner. Or I wish I hadn't had the worry to do it, or
No, absolutely. So let's we've struggled with identifying, well, like we run ultras. That's not for everybody.
right.
So how
And by
how
no
are-
means is Savage Factor a running brand.
no,
It's
and that's
not
what
a
I think we need to lay out there
yeah.
too.
Savage Factor. It's again, the beauty of this podcast is to kind of help us in a way dial down that elevator pitch, because we don't want to be known as a running brand. We're not a running brand. We're there for everybody. One of the big things we said way back when we sat down with Pine Point Creative was that we want to be recognizable to the single mom. We want to be recognizable to the power lifter that goes to the gym, to the guy that does CrossFit, to you name it. And our overall philosophy about doing the hard thing and doing challenging yourself to be better can be applied to so many different things. It can be applied to business. We're both entrepreneurs. We both have our own businesses. And all the same things that we're talking about, whether we apply it to running or we apply it to our businesses, you can apply it in so many different facets of life.
Well, like the other day, we were both coming off weird sicknesses. It's been a bad year, but it's like sometimes the hard thing is just getting your butt back to the gym.
Right.
That's hard. I can relate to that many times.
Right.
Sometimes the hard thing is taking a chance on yourself, making a podcast, investing money when you're not sure, it's wise. Sometimes the hard thing is showing up after a long day and being the parent you should be. That's hard.
So again, you have a shitty day at work, things don't go your way, maybe it was a real rough one, but you walk through that door to your family and you got to check all that. The hard thing to do is let all that go and show up and be dad, show up and be husband. A lot of the things that we went through last year or put ourselves through. So we'll back up again. We signed up for a 24-hour race. Have never ran more than a 10K. Never ran, before the race, I think the furthest I had run, it was 15, 18 miles,
14,
maybe.
15 miles, I think.
And I think that, we were a little naive in the fact that we got 24 hours, we're going to hit 100 miles. And, we uploaded a couple of videos about our journey to 100 miles, because in an ultra marathon, if you hit 100 miles, you get what they call the belt buckle. So it's a significant achievement. And, like two naive guys. And we knew, I think deep down, looking back, we knew it was a lofty goal. But that's the kind of people that we are, is to set that goal. Instead of going in and saying, I've never ran more than 20 miles. I want to run 25 miles. Well, yeah, okay. Or we set that bar really, really high, and we came up short. There's no doubt about it.
There's no fail when you try and you come up short. It's just
failure is
adjust, work harder.
Right. Failure means you've tried.
Yeah.
And failure means being willing to fail is huge. Because if you don't fail, you're not trying.
Well, what's the saying? The man in the arena. You get this. I'll butcher it, but you get the spectators all heckling.
Right.
When at the end of the day, the man in the arena is the only one that has tried.
And to fail means you gave it everything you had and you came up short, and it was a learning curve. Now we did that. We went in there, and by no means did we have. It wasn't a bad outing. I think I did something like 82, 83 miles.
Well, I was 75, and you were one lap over that, so you're 82.
Yeah, so say 82 miles. Not bad for a guy that did at the most 15, 18 miles, And
well, I remember after that telling you, it's like all these years I limited myself mentally to a 10K, thinking that was my limit.
Right.
And then jumping from that to 75 miles. So you remember what I said? It's like, what else have I been mentally limiting myself to?
Exactly.
Limiting salary per year. All I can make is this.
Right.
Limiting, what I can get done in a day. So I think a lot of people do that, and that's a big, quick lesson you can learn.
Right. And that's
by being, by doing the hard things.
Again, back to, running is what we do, or what we've decided to do. But you can apply all those same lessons that we learned through running. you can apply that to all the other things in life. And again, you know, like Nick said, you walk away from it going, okay, I failed at my goal to do 100, but I unlocked so much potential, and I learned what I was capable of. And to me, that just made us more hungry. And then we turned around. What did we do? We ended up doing 3 ultras last year, or 4 ultras.
We did 4.
We did 4 ultra
So we
marathons
did the
last year.
24-hour. We did 2 last man standing, which is basically it's a 4.17
4.1, 4.2 mile loop.
loop. You have 1 hour to do it. So the objective is to take 45 minutes to do that lap. You can run, you can walk, you can crawl. You know, it's whatever you
Whatever
want to
gets
do.
you across the finish line.
And then you rest for 15 minutes, but you need to be back on the start line.
Right.
On
Every
the
hour on the hour.
Or
and if
you're
you're
out.
not, take a seat. And
And-
that format was, and we've talked about it. I'm glad we started with the 24-hour.
Oh, yeah.
Because that allowed us to really say, in this block of time, what are we capable of?
Yeah.
And then it was fun after doing that to step it up to, you know, the last man standing format. That is a whole different animal. And you sit there and go, okay, I can do 4.2 miles or 4.1 miles. I can do that in a matter of an hour. And I'll have plenty of time. And we both joke because we sat there and on paper, doable.
Yeah.
Doable.
Yeah.
We'll go all night and show up. And the first one we did was in the heart of, was it July?
It was first week of July.
And boy.
Humid and blaring sun.
And there's no shade. And so we showed up with all of these individuals, 100, 120.
Yeah, I think it was 125.
And of all people with the same mindset of wanting to push themselves, everyone went in there with some goal in mind. Whether it was, I don't plan on being the last person, but I'm going to run the furthest I've ever run.
There were some people one lap.
Right, but that was the furthest they had done.
And that shows, you know, the spectrum of savage factor. For that one person, I think it was a woman, that was her hard.
Right.
That's the new benchmark for her.
Right.
Next year, maybe
She
she's
found out
3
what
laps.
she was made of.
Yeah, and we don't know her backstory. Maybe she's overcoming a bunch of stuff. And that's not to, you know, jump in with a different story, but we recognize and have talked to so many amazing people that have these amazing backstories, thinking maybe nobody cares, wants to hear them, maybe they don't have a stage to stand on. Savage Factor wants to give these everyday people that have done amazing things a platform to share their story. So
yeah, because you never know the hard that people are going through. And
you
a
know,
lot
and
of
we
people-
both have some hard stuff that we'll open up about. You know,
Oh,
as
definitely,
this goes on. So.
definitely, yeah. And I think we'll, you know, we have stories that we'll share, and we'll continue to share throughout the podcast. I mean, I'm in the middle of going through one of the hardest things I've ever gone through, you know, which we'll touch more on. But that's the thing is the podcast in our eyes is going to allow us to be able to bring those people on. And like Nick said, you don't know what people are going through or what they've been through. You know, you don't know what that individual has achieved to get there. Like, we don't know, that girl could have been coming off a broken leg. It could have been, you know, she could have lost 100, 200 pounds, and this is the first real thing that she's done. It's just, it was and to me, that is, again, if you've never tried an ultra marathon because you've said, I'm not a good runner, or the ultra marathon community is very welcoming to so many different people. And whether you're
they
the
welcome
person,
2 guys that shouldn't have been there.
whether you're the person that is just going for a personal best of 6 miles, or you're going to do 125 miles, you know, they're welcoming. But when you stand at that start line, especially the last man standing, because you have 1 hour to get back around, and then you line back up with a whole group of people, and you're standing there, and you kind of have to sit there and take it all in at all of these people that you've surrounded yourself with that are pushing to do the hard thing. And it's, to us, the running aspect of it is that ultra marathon is it's all of a sudden you take all the people that we're talking about, and they're right in one central hub for 24 hours.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we envision for this too. A community. This is a long-term vision, maybe a pipe dream, but where this movement has expanded enough where you see somebody in a sweatshirt or a
Right.
shirt, you're drawn to them to hear their story. What did you do to feel like you should buy that sweatshirt or that shirt, or you're showing up for a friend of yours that that went through a bunch, and you're showing up promoting Savage Factor as
Right.
as a message. So a ways down the road, but that's all part of the journey. That's the
Oh, absolutely. And like you said, it's a, the fun part for us is we started Savage Factor as a passion. As like I said before, Nick works for himself, I work for myself. And Savage Factor is something that we feel very strongly about, and we want to unify individuals and really create a community of people, that will help each other out and push each other, and essentially help rise you to the best.
it's
I like to laugh. There's a saying, it's hard to soar with eagles when you're surrounded by turkeys, because turkeys don't fly. But essentially, if you want to be better, and we've talked about this, if you want to be better, the best way to do that is surround yourself with people that help level you up, and not people that accept mediocrity. Like Nick and I, we talk almost daily, and Nick's got full right to push back on me if he feels like I'm slipping and I'm, dropping below where I need to be. And I do the same to Nick. Hence getting him to go back to the gym after 3 weeks.
Well, I've given him a hard time, so I won't dig into a story, but he tore his Achilles, and I've been telling him you need to man up and still get done what you've been. And he has been. He has been going to the gym.
We're 8 weeks post.
Yeah,
so
we'll
we
dig
can
into
dive
that.
into that the next time. I think initially we just wanted to talk about what Savage Factor was, and open people's eyes to it, and let you guys know that we're going to try to do this. I would say weekly.
I'd say as many times as we feel like we have
And
messages to share.
And the majority of it will probably be Nick and I talking. And then when we can, we definitely, like Nick said, we've met some very interesting people, not only in the running community, but we know people that have faced a lot of hard things and overcome a lot of things. And we want to get those people on so they can share their story and bring inspiration to other people. But we don't also want to be, like, inspiration can be found through other people,
Sure.
but we are going after the people that really want it and are looking for that help, that boost. Again, surrounding yourself with people that help level you up. It's hard. I'm sure there's people out there that, and we talk, like, you hear stories about people that they want to do the right thing. They want to lose weight. They go home, they got kids, they got a husband, they got a wife. They don't share the same goal.
Yeah.
That's an uphill battle. Now, if you have some place to turn and there's people that are motivating you or helping you along, that's how you get where you need to be.
And we can be those people. I mean, neither of us are experts by any standards. I feel like we've both gone through a lot of personal growth and have a lot of solid advice, even if it's just holding you accountable. If you want to, set a goal through us saying, I really want to go to the gym 3 times a week,
right.
or 2
And you're
times a
looking
week,
for
or 1 time a
accountability?
week. If you've never been to the gym and you just want us to, I'll send you a text every morning. Do you go to the gym? Do you go to the gym? Do you go to the gym? But, and also vice versa. If you feel like you have a baseline, offer it to somebody else. We all work with people that we see struggle. Just assume they don't have anybody, like Nick said. They don't have a supportive spouse. That's its own battle.
Right.
But can you show up for them and just give that simple text, give that simple encouragement, whatever it might be. That's how we start this change with this movement.
Right.
And that's,
well, I think we've both, and we've talked, and the way that the country is now, we need to turn things around. There needs to be more people willing to go after it and be the best that they can be. Instead of sitting back and essentially being mediocre. And there's so many people out there that are just going through mediocrity because that's all they know. And I wouldn't say we were doing mediocre, but again, showing up to that first 24-hour race was a real eye opener to what you're capable of. Well, if I can run for 24 hours straight through the night,
What else can I do?
what else can I get done?
What can all you guys do? You know, can you sit down and learn a new language? Can you go back to school slowly and get that degree? Can you
You've pushed off starting your own business,
quit
or
drinking? Like there's so many things.
Right.
It's sometimes it's the smallest things. It's can you show up and tuck your kids in at night when you've missed it because you're working late? You know, these little things that are hard. There's nothing easy about them. Can you show up and do those things? That's how you start.
right?
And there's still stuff that we think of every day that we can do differently, and it's an
absolutely.
ongoing thing. But
Well, growth is an everyday. Growth is an everyday, every hour battle. You can easily get wrapped into, like I said, the bar is always getting elevated in business. And I approach my life, in my business is every day we're up in the bar. 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 Because again, I like to think of my business no different than I thought of our first ultra. Like, if I did X amount of sales this week in my business, where's next week? Can we up that by a little bit? Can we up it by a little bit more? And like I said, if you approach everything in your life like you want to keep pushing, it just better prepares you. And that goes, we've said the saying is that if you can choose to put yourself through the hard things, when you can't control the hard things that are thrown at you, you're that much better prepared.
like you would argue, you were mentally hardened and more prepared for your Achilles injury because of everything we did last summer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's not a doubt that coming off of one of the strongest years I've ever had, and I don't mean physically, but it's also mentally.
Oh, mentally was
It was an extreme mental challenge last year, but that put me in such a strong mindset so that when I had this injury, again, work for myself, tore my Achilles, we have a decision to make. We crawl in a hole and let it completely destroy everything, or we realize we got what the problem was, get it fixed, and move on.
I mean, if you guys can picture him, I mean, on crutches, the day after you had your appointment, and you're like, I need to go to work.
Oh, I went to work the day after it happened
with a wrapped foot.
So I've only missed one day of work since in the last 8 weeks, and that was the day of surgery. Yeah. Had surgery, went back to work the next day. Yeah. So to say that it's not doable, and some people, this is the world that we live in. Some people look at that and say it's stupid, it's crazy, you shouldn't be doing that. Why can't I? My thing to the doctor was, am I cleared? Yeah, don't put weight on it. Okay.
But like you said, that's an invitation for
you can let everything slide back in, right? And a lot of people would use that incident as an opportunity to say, "That's why I can't get anything done. That's why I can't do this. That's why this won't work." And if you approach it with a strong mindset, for me, I'm not one to sit home. Yeah, I was going to work, and it just, if you can do the hard thing over and over and over and over under your own doing, the world can throw you anything, and you're going to be able to take care of it. Fucking A.
Jeez.
And you can't clip them together.
I think you can.
Where were we at?
I
felt like we were rambling.
Yeah, we were at 29 minutes. It says we are.
We are what?
It says
We're still recording?
No, it says we still have internet. Recording continues normally for everyone else when a participant's internet disconnects in the rest of the studio.
Probably shouldn't have thrown out a couple